reason. It's some loam, man. It's some beautiful dirt. And
Well, and who would have known? When you think about it, you think dirty industrial city. I'm curious though, because I mean, there's salt mines all around there, and does any of that have any bearing on the pH and the balance on the soil? Do you think?
no, no, no. I mean, it may, in terms of overall mineral content, there may be some impact on it, but in terms of the salt having a negative effect on the quality of the soil, no, that
Okay.
salt is hundreds of feet down.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize it was quite so deep. All right,
Yeah.
so that makes sense then. So yeah, I kind of like the idea. I mean, there's and Lord knows there's lots of land lying fallow, so to speak, in the city. What with all of the pull downs and everything, and the general exodus that happened when the auto industry pulled out. So I mean, I was in Flint when GM took and ran off to Mexico. So I saw what happened, and was working there when it did. So yeah, it'd be really neat to see something turn around.
Sure. Now, it's gonna be important for us to understand what the legacy, and what the provenance of the land is. We don't want a brownfield. We want a piece of property that was used as a church yard or a school yard for its entire developed life. And there are plenty of pieces of property like that in Detroit, even though it is a 300-year-old city. I'm sure we can find something if we look hard enough. Then the question will be, can we afford it? And then, is the surrounding area amenable to it? We don't want to move anywhere where we're not wanted.
Yeah.
And we don't want to wedge ourselves into someplace. We want to go to someplace where this might make sense, and we can employ some people from the area, and where we can potentially make a difference and boost the tax base.
Yeah, totally. I wonder, this just kind of occurred to me randomly, but there are maps of, the old city, and over time, over the last 300 years, I wonder, if you identified some pieces of land, and I know we're kind of wandering a little far afield here. I can hear AJ thinking, she and I tend to roam. But I wonder if you were to, pick out half a dozen pieces of land and then go back in the maps and say, okay, what have these been through time? To.
Oh, yeah, you're right, but that's the magnificent thing about a city like Detroit is that information is available. There is a city-county building with all of that information and plat maps that go back hundreds of years. It's almost. Gives you goosebumps to go back and find some of this stuff. But the city of Detroit's record keeping is very good, as is the Detroit Public Library. The Detroit Public Library is a spectacular resource for going back, and the Detroit Historical Museum are spectacular resources for going back to find out what's available.
Manny's pulling pieces of property for you. and posting them on the Skype feed.
His Google foo is strong.
His Google foo is strong tonight. Yeah.
If he's posted the church, the 2.5 acres on the church property on the southeast side of Detroit,
McKinstry Street.
I'm not sure exactly what street it's on, but there is a bookmarks folder with listings that we are actively investigating.
That's so cool. I think that's really neat. I think you might be the first, and not to use this in any kind of a derogatory way, but I think you may be the first, inner city winery. I mean, how many? Not just meadery, but for both in parts of the industry, because you just don't see, production facilities that provide some of their own stuff. So vineyards or fruit farms or what have you, they aren't in cities. They're always out in the boonies. So, something like this is completely and utterly new.
Well, there are down here in Detroit. There are still some cideries that have small plants, plantings in their vicinity. So that's not as not in the city of Detroit, though. Not in the city of Detroit. Absolutely right. Not. You're correct about that. And yeah, it would be kind of exciting. It's a unique opportunity that the city of Detroit has because this land's going to find a use. There are too many people around here that are too smart and too hardworking to let this all remain fallow.
Yeah.
And I have a lot of them that I consider friends that are down there just pounding it out now and doing a great job.
Mm-hmm. Well, both you and Brad chose to start your businesses down there, and a lot of people would have said you were crazy. A lot of people did say you guys were crazy, and they were wrong. I mean,
no, Brad and I are crazy.
Well, yeah, I mean, but not that kind of crazy. But
okay.
You know what I'm saying. There's a lot of people that said Detroit. Oh my God, because of course to the country, Detroit is this blasted, hole of nastiness, and it's like Sodom and Gomorrah after the fall. It's
yeah, but it's a great place to rebuild. I mean, if I was American, I would have been considering it.
Oh yeah, I mean Detroit, and especially if you're from Michigan, Detroit has so much history, so much that it anchored our state for the longest time. So I mean, I grew up in Western Michigan, and thus Detroit was the big city. That you went down and it was like Renton, Greektown. So I still miss Greektown.
Still there. It's
I
just
know.
for you.
I just don't. Well, I'll tell you. When I rent the car, when I come home at the end of July, when I rent the car, then I'll come down and see you, and then see if I can lure you guys out of the meadery long enough to go down to Greektown and get some food.
If you really want to, I love Greek food, but if you want to flip the switch, it's Mexican for me.
Okay. I like Mexican.
You can get me down by the bridge in a heartbeat. All you have to do is just ask the right way at the right time.
Oh, I think I can manage that. And obviously you know the place, so I will defer to your judgment on that. It's been a while.
I know 3 or 4, and I just learned of one more today. So
yeah. I could be tempted with a really good, like chimichanga or something like that. I'm pretty into Mexican. So let's talk fruit. I know I've always been curious, and I've never actually asked, and I'm sure a lot of other people want to know too, just exactly how much fruit production how many trees do you got? How many plants do you got? What do you get? I can't, in my mind's eye, I'm thinking Ferndale. I'm thinking, where's he putting it? So.
Well, the orchard plot is not in Ferndale.
Okay.
The orchard plot is a little further away.
Okay.
And we've got 10.
In the bat cave, right?
It's really close to where Dick Cheney is being held.
Okay, gotcha.
No, we have 10 cherry scaffolds. We have 5 apple scaffolds. We have about we have several square feet of raspberries and black currants, and so yeah, I mean, we're looking for a bigger chunk of property. We are going to need maybe 6 to 10 acres to really accomplish what we want to accomplish with the fruit production. Because you can put about 110 cherry trees on an acre of land, and 110 cherry trees will make a lot of cherries. That for me will be the kind of step up that we will be hard pressed to handle in terms of production capacity. I don't know what we would do with that many cherries if we had them. So yeah, I mean, our tiny little production right now can scale up over the course of 5 or 6 years to hopefully, like I said, 6 to 10 acres. But right now, it's not even a full acre of property.
Still, though, 110 cherry trees. That's pretty awesome.
Well, that's not what we have now. That's what we're shooting for. We have 10 cherries in production. 10 trees in production right now.
You said cherry
scaffolds.
Scaffolds. Yeah. What's that?
Well, a scaffold is a term for the main trunk of a tree and several sets of branches on, and I say that because we've got 5 apple scaffolds, and onto those trees we've grafted like 50 or so other varieties. So there's the four varieties that we have. Two Jonathans, one Northern Spy, one Jona Gold, and one Spy Gold.
Okay.
We've grafted a lot of other varieties onto those trees. Those scaffolds.
Is that so you can have several varieties with very few trees? Is that what's going on?
That's exactly what we're doing, and that allows us to have ciders and sizers that have a depth of flavor and complexity and aromatic, interest.
Okay.
Interesting. I'm not familiar. I mean, I picked cherries as a child, but of course I'm not a cherry, grower. So the whole scaffold thing that's new for me. So learn something new every day. What do you got by way of you've got cherries, you've got apples, and you also have what? Raspberries and currants, both black and red?
Yes. No red currants. So I have red raspberries in 2 varieties and black currants in 2 varieties.
Okay.
And that'll expand. If we can get another 5 or 6 acres of property, we'd really like to get some red currants going. We'd really like to get more varieties of black currants going, because there are a lot of varieties of black currants, and we can increase the amount of complexity in the black currant beverages that we're making, and we can also extend the season, because some of them bear earlier in the year and some of them bear later in the year, and it's nice to be able to stretch things out. So if you've got,
it's nice to not have everything all ripe all at once, right?
Ding, 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 ding.
Yeah, I can imagine. I remember seeing you earlier this spring when you guys were having the late freezes, and you were sleeping out in the out at the property on the ground.
No, I just went out there like every couple of hours to light up the trees, light up the fires underneath the trees.
Right.
Just to keep the blossoms from freezing.
Yep, and it made a big difference.
Yeah, I saw the pictures. Looks like they bloom pretty well.
They're gorgeous, and the trees that didn't get smudge potted did not bear much fruit at all.
Wow.
So it was a big difference.
What's your cherry crop looking like this year? Because I know there was a big effect on up north. They had it worse than you guys with the freeze. So
They did. They're actually hoping for a decent crop this year, but not quite what it should be. And we're solid. I'm gonna refrain from content. We're gonna refrain from comment until the fruit is not counting any chicks before they're hatched.
Yeah, very true. Well, and you don't want to jinx it either. I mean, that would be bad.
Who knows? We could end up with hail in the next 3 days and lose the whole crop. So
it's always a danger, eh?
Yeah.
It is. So that's if I can jump in and answer a question that hasn't been answered or that hasn't been asked yet. I think a lot of people are reluctant to consider whether or not they should grow their own fruit to make fruit beers or fruit meads, and I really think it's a huge step in the right direction for people who want to either go professional or really understand the sort of the heights of this hobby. It's considered, for brewers and to some extent for mead makers, it's considered sort of a whack job, end of the spectrum thing. But in the world of wine, it's not at all. It's sort of the almost the entry level aspect of getting into the profession is to grow your own fruit, and no one who has a vineyard up either in northern Michigan or over in California there's tremendous grape growing that's going on all across the country right now, from Missouri to Virginia and up into New York, and it's just really high quality stuff going on, and it's